What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actors walks onto a morning television set expecting a friendly chat about his latest film, only to be ambushed with accusations, personal attacks, and questions so invasive they cross every line of decency? In just 35 seconds, a single comment from host Lorraine Kelly would ignite a confrontation so explosive that Colin Firth, known for his calm and gentlemanly demeanor, would do something he had never done in his entire career: walk off a live television show. The morning started like any other on the Lorraine Kelly show. The studio lights were bright, the audience was settled in their seats, and the panel was ready. Sitting alongside Lorraine were her regular contributors: entertainment correspondent Sarah Mitchell, known for her sharp tongue and willingness to say anything for a reaction, and lifestyle guru Marcus Webb, who rarely disagreed with anything Lorraine said. Colin Firth arrived on time, polite as always, shaking hands with the crew and offering warm smiles to everyone he passed. He had been on this show before. It had always been pleasant. He had no reason to think today would be any different. But from the moment Colin sat down in the guest chair, something felt wrong. Lorraine's smile seemed forced, almost cold. Her eyes had a glint of something that looked less like curiosity and more like hunger, the kind of look a predator gives before it pounces. Sarah Mitchell was leaning forward in her seat, arms crossed, already smirking. Marcus Webb sat back, quiet, watching. Lorraine started the interview with what seemed like a simple question. "Colin, lovely to have you here. You're promoting your new film, but I think what everyone really wants to know is, why have you been so quiet lately? Some people are saying you've lost your relevance. Do you feel like Hollywood has moved on without you?" The audience shifted uncomfortably. Colin's smile faltered for just a moment, but he recovered, quickly. "Well, Lorraine, I wouldn't say I've been quiet. I've been selective about the projects I take on. Quality over quantity, you know. I'm fortunate to still be working on films I care about." Lorraine tilted her head, her smile sharpening. Selective. That's one way to put it. Some might say you've just been difficult to work with. Is that why we're not seeing you in as many big productions anymore? Sarah Mitchell jumped in before Colin could respond. "I've heard from sources that you've turned down several major roles because you thought you were too good for them. Is that true, Colin? Do you think you're above certain types of films now?" Colin's jaw tightened. He took a breath, keeping his voice steady. "I don't think I'm above anything. I simply choose roles that resonate with me creatively. That's what any actor does." Lorraine laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh. It was mocking. "Creatively. Right. But isn't it true that some directors have said you're a bit precious? That you take yourself too seriously?" The room went silent. Even the cameramen exchanged glances. This was crossing a line, and everyone knew it. Colin looked directly at Lorraine, his expression hardening. "I'm not sure where you're getting this information, Lorraine, but I think it's unfair to bring up unnamed sources making vague accusations. If someone has something to say about me, they should say it to my face." Marcus Webb finally spoke up, though not in Colin's defense. "I think what Lorraine is trying to say, Colin, is that the public perception of you has changed. You used to be this romantic lead, this charming figure, and now you seem, I don't know, bitter? Withdrawn?" Colin's eyes widened slightly. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Bitter? I'm here to talk about a film I'm passionate about, and instead I'm being psychoanalyzed by people who don't know me." Lorraine leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a faux sympathetic tone that dripped with condescension. "Colin, darling, we're just trying to have an honest conversation. You know, the audience at home, they want to see the real you, not this carefully constructed image you present. Tell us, what's really going on? Are you struggling? Is that why you seem so defensive?" Colin's face flushed. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair. Defensive? Lorraine, you've spent the last 5 minutes insulting me and questioning my career, my character, and my mental state. I'm not being defensive. I'm being rational. There's a difference. Sarah Mitchell laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. Oh, come on, Colin. You're in the public eye. You have to expect these questions. If you can't handle a little scrutiny, maybe you're in the wrong business. Colin turned to her, his voice calm but firm. Scrutiny is one thing. Disrespect is another. I've been nothing but professional since I walked in here, and I've been met with hostility and baseless accusations. I didn't come here for this. Lorraine waved her hand dismissively. You're being dramatic. We're just having a conversation. But since you brought it up, let's talk about your personal life. You've always been very private, haven't you? Some would say secretive. What are you hiding, Colin? The audience gasped. A few people murmured in shock. Colin stared at Lorraine, his face a mix of disbelief and anger. What am I hiding? Lorraine, I'm a private person because I value my privacy. That's not a crime. That's a choice. And it's a choice I'm entitled to make. Lorraine smirked. But doesn't the public have a right to know about the people they admire? You've built a career on being this perfect gentleman, this ideal man. But nobody's perfect, Colin. What's the real story? Have there been scandals you've managed to keep quiet? Affairs? Controversies? Colin stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. The studio fell completely silent. Every eye was on him. His voice, when he spoke, was low and controlled, but there was a tremor of fury beneath it. I have never, in my entire career, been spoken to like this. I came here as a guest to talk about my work, and instead I've been subjected to a character assassination. You've made wild accusations without a shred of evidence. You've insulted me, belittled me, and now you're inventing scandals that don't exist. This isn't journalism. This is a witch hunt. Lorraine sat back, arms crossed, looking almost pleased with herself. So you're saying there's nothing to any of this? You're just a perfect angel who's never done anything wrong? Colin's voice rose, his patience finally snapping. I'm saying that I'm a human being who deserves basic respect, and you've shown me none. You've ambushed me on live television, and for what? Ratings? To make yourself feel important? This is beneath you, Lorraine. Or at least it should be. Sarah Mitchell scoffed. Oh, please. You're just upset because someone finally had the guts to ask you real questions instead of lobbing you softballs. Colin turned to her, his eyes blazing. Real questions? You call fabricating stories about me being difficult and implying I'm hiding some dark secret real questions? That's not journalism. That's gossip. And it's malicious. Marcus Webb tried to interject, his tone placating. Colin, I think everyone's emotions are running a bit high. Maybe we should all take a breath and... Colin cut him off. No, Marcus. I'm done taking breaths. I'm done being polite while I'm being attacked. You all sit here, nodding along while Lorraine tears me down, and you say nothing. You're complicit in this. Lorraine's face hardened. She wasn't smiling anymore. Complicit? Colin, you're being absurd. This is a talk show. We ask questions. If you can't handle that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing press. Colin laughed, a bitter, incredulous sound. Ask questions? Lorraine, you haven't asked a single genuine question since I sat down. You've made accusations. You've insinuated. You've tried to provoke me. And now you're trying to gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem here. Well, I'm not playing along. Lorraine stood up now, her voice rising to match his. You think you're so much better than everyone else, don't you? You think because you've won some awards and played some fancy roles that you're above criticism. Well, newsflash, Colin, you're not special. You're just another actor with an ego. The audience was in shock. Some people were covering their mouths. Others were looking around, unsure of what to do. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of the meltdown. Colin shook his head slowly, a sad smile on his face. You know what, Lorraine? I feel sorry for you. I really do. Because this need to tear people down to make yourself feel relevant. It's sad. You used to be a respected journalist. Now, you're just a bully with a microphone. Lorraine's face turned red. How dare you? How dare you come on my show and insult me? This is my show. Mine. And I will not be spoken to like this by some washed-up actor who can't accept that his time has passed. The words hung in the air like poison. Colin stared at her for a long moment, and then, very quietly, he said, I'm leaving. Lorraine laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Oh, you're leaving? You're just going to walk out? That's very professional of you, Colin. Very mature. Colin picked up his jacket from the back of his chair. Staying here and allowing you to continue to abuse me would be neither professional nor mature. It would be foolish. And whatever you think of me, Lorraine, I'm not a fool. Sarah Mitchell stood up, pointing at Colin. If you walk out of here, everyone will know what kind of person you really are. A coward who can't face tough questions. Colin turned to her, his voice ice cold. Let them think what they want. I know who I am, and I know what this is. This isn't an interview. It's a hit job, and I won't be part of it. Lorraine stepped forward, her voice shaking with rage. You walk out that door, Colin, and you'll never work in this industry again. I have connections. I have influence. I can make sure every producer, every director, every studio knows exactly what kind of difficult, arrogant, unprofessional person you are. Colin stopped at the edge of the set and turned back to face her. The entire studio held its breath. His voice, when he spoke, was calm, measured, and devastated. Lorraine, if this is what the industry has become, if this is what passes for entertainment now, then I don't want to be part of it. Threaten me all you want. Smear me all you want. I'll sleep just fine tonight, knowing I didn't compromise my dignity for your ratings. Lorraine's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked to Sarah and Marcus for support, but both of them were staring at the floor, suddenly very interested in their shoes. The audience sat in stunned silence, some of them beginning to whisper to each other. Colin looked out at them, his expression softening. I'm sorry you had to witness this. I hope you got the show you came for. He turned and walked toward the exit. Lorraine found her voice again, shouting after him. Don't you walk away from me. I'm not finished with you. Colin, Colin. But he didn't stop. He didn't turn around. He kept walking, his head held high, his shoulders straight. A production assistant tried to step in front of him, but Colin simply walked around him. Another crew member reached out as if to stop him, but thought better of it and pulled back. The heavy studio door opened, and Colin Firth walked through it, leaving behind the chaos he hadn't created, but refused to participate in. Lorraine stood in the middle of the set, her face flushed, her hands shaking. She looked at the cameras, at her panelists, at the audience. Well, she said, her voice brittle and defensive, I think that tells you everything you need to know about Colin Firth, doesn't it? Can't handle a real conversation. Can't handle being challenged. But the audience wasn't buying it. A few people were already getting up to leave. Others were shaking their heads. One woman near the front called out, That was disgraceful. You should be ashamed of yourself. Lorraine's eyes flashed. Excuse me? I'm the host of this show. I ask the questions I want to ask. Another voice from the audience. A man this time. You weren't asking questions. You were attacking him. We all saw it. Sarah Mitchell tried to jump in, her voice defensive. He was being evasive. He wouldn't give straight answers. A woman in the third row stood up. He answered every question honestly until you started making things up. I've watched this show for years, and I've never seen anything like this. This was cruel. Marcus Webb remained silent, staring at his hands, He knew what had just happened. They all did. Lorraine Kelly had crossed a line, and there was no coming back from it. The audience continued to murmur, some in anger, some in disbelief. The energy in the room had shifted completely. What was supposed to be a light-hearted morning chat show had turned into something dark and uncomfortable. Lorraine tried to regain control, plastering on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. All right, let's all calm down. We still have the rest of the show to get through. After the break, we'll be talking about... But nobody was listening. The cameras kept rolling, but the damage was done. Behind the scenes, producers were scrambling, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. Phones were ringing. Social media was already exploding with clips of the confrontation. People were taking sides, and overwhelmingly, they were siding with Colin. In the green room, staff members who had witnessed everything stood in shocked silence. One of the makeup artists, a woman who had worked with Colin before, had tears in her eyes. "He's one of the kindest people I've ever met," she said to no one in particular. "He didn't deserve that." A young production assistant nodded. "I've never seen anyone treated like that on this show. That was bullying, plain and simple." Back on set, Lorraine tried to continue with the show, but her usual confidence was gone. Her voice was shaky. Her smiles were forced. Sarah Mitchell kept glancing at the exit, as if expecting Colin to walk back in, though they all knew he wouldn't. Marcus Webb finally spoke, his voice quiet. "That got out of hand." Lorraine shot him a look. "Out of hand? He's the one who walked out. He's the one who couldn't handle a few simple questions." Marcus shook his head slowly. "Lorraine, those weren't simple questions, and you know it." The audience heard it. The cameras caught it. Lorraine's face went pale, then red again. "Are you turning on me now, Marcus? Really?" Marcus met her eyes. "I'm not turning on anyone. I'm just saying what everyone in this room is thinking. That wasn't okay." Sarah Mitchell, sensing the ship was sinking, tried to backtrack. "Look, maybe things got a bit heated. Maybe we could have approached it differently. But Colin overreacted. He could have just answered the questions and moved on." But even as she said it, her voice lacked conviction. She knew it wasn't true. They all knew it. The truth was obvious to everyone watching. Colin Firth had been ambushed, disrespected, and pushed to his breaking point. And when he finally stood up for himself, when he refused to be treated like a punching bag for someone else's entertainment, he became the villain in their narrative. Except the audience wasn't accepting that narrative. Not this time. Lorraine tried to wrap up the segment, her voice tight. "We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere." But people were already leaving. Not just the audience members who had stood up in protest, but viewers at home who were turning off their televisions in disgust. The show continued, stumbling through the remaining segments, but nobody's heart was in it. The energy was gone. The trust was broken. What should have been a simple promotional interview for a talented actor had become a masterclass in how not to treat a guest. And the person who walked away with their dignity intact, the person who refused to play the game, was Colin Firth. In the moments after he left, somewhere in the building, Colin stood alone in a quiet hallway, taking deep breaths, trying to calm the adrenaline coursing through his body. He had never done anything like that before. He had always been the consummate professional, the polite guest, the man who smiled through discomfort and answered even the most intrusive questions with grace. But there was a limit to what anyone should have to endure. And today, on live television, in front of millions of people, Colin Firth had found his limit. He had drawn a line in the sand and said, "No more." And in doing so, he had shown more courage than anyone sitting on that panel could ever claim to have.